missed y'all so much. We hope you've had an amazing week. But guess what? Now we're back. There's more Fortnite action to be had, and of course, we're happy that you are joining us. There's so much we're going to be discussing on today's FNCS here in the East, but before we can get there, there's a couple things we got to do, you know, like what's going on. If maybe you've never watched before, welcome. We're happy that you're taking time to watch some awesome Fortnite. And of course, wherever you're watching, maybe it's Legends Landing. We hope you guys enjoy this show. Now, before we get into some of the more Fortnite-specific things, why don't we talk about the broadcast schedule? When are we here? Well, NA East, don't worry. We're going to be here for the next few weekends. No big deal, hanging out. This is week number 2, of course. Now, Surge Week about to be insane. If you like Victory Royales, you like high action, make sure you tune in then. And of course, Grand Finals, March 4th and 5th. That will be the conclusion of Major number 1. You don't want to miss that. Now, of course, we've changed the name, and, you know, Major, it's still the same old FNCS. There's still prize money, there's still active champions, all that and more. But there's a little bit of a twist now. Not only is the $120,000 for that duo that can come in first place, paired with the active champions, of course, for that accomplishment, but also a guaranteed spot going to the global championships that happens later on this year. So a lot at stake for that number 1 duo. Now, let's talk some more Fortnite. I need some help from my friends. We've got none other than Mini Minor and, of course, Jenny Smiles. Great job, Jenny. First try.
Thank you. Yeah, first one.
We did it. Here we are, week number 2, back in NA East. I know you guys have missed all the Fortnite fans, so how are you guys feeling coming into week number 2?
Feeling good.
What are you feeling?
Really good. I'm feeling really good. It's week number 2. I'm excited. We saw a few changes last week. A few surprises as to how well some of our teams did, and also some of the teams that we expected to do better not quite performing as intended. The also Rise being one of them. I'm excited to see how they perform today, Jenny.
Yeah, there's a lot of returning teams. There's about 27 returning teams, but 23 new players, new teams, and new players that will be for week 2.
It's really exciting, so definitely keep our eyes on them.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys have maybe any different expectations coming into week number 2? Week number 1 was kind of wild, but anything you're hoping to see done differently?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm thinking about Acorn and Colt, right? We saw them last week. They didn't have the best day. It was a little bit of a difficult situation for them, uncontested at the south side of Slappy Shores. This week, however, they are uncontested. How will they approach that different challenge? I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, like you said, there's some teams that were landing nearby that are no longer landing there, so they're going to have to kind of change up the flow of how they're going to play this out. And again, on top of that, too, we're going to see some different teams maybe even contesting and landing at different POIs, changing it up. So we're going to, I mean, it's just going to be a fun time to see how these teams are like, all right, am I going to stay here? Am I going to switch it up? What's going to happen for week 2?
Yeah, there's so much we're going to be talking about over the next little bit here. But for now, why don't we talk about faulty splits? A POI that is highly contested. A lot of people looking at Faulty thinking this POI is pretty dang sweet. But why is it so good?
Yeah, okay, so this POI is amazing. Faulty Splits is for sure poppin'. As you can see, there's an abundance of loot here. This POI actually has the #1 rate for chest spawns. Like, it has 61 here, and this POI is also super awesome because it's a city vibe, a modern city mixed in with your medieval town over here. As you can see, you're not
walking out of here
without that full shield, and you're gonna have an abundance of ammo, everything your little heart could desire. Isn't that right, Minnie?
Absolutely. I mean, as you mentioned, 68 ammo crates there, of course, as well. We have all of the slurp barrels there, but of course, we can't forget to mention those Oathbound chests. Now, of course, they are on that south side, the more medieval side, as we mentioned. There's a little bit of a split to the POI. We can see the south side is that medieval side, which we're having a little fly through right now, as we can see all of this loot that, of course, you can get from the south side. There's a little bit of a lack of metal, of course, at this side. There's not too much of the brick either, but, of course, you do have that slurp. You have all of the loot that you could possibly need. And, of course, last week, we saw so many teams contesting this area for this loot, and not only the loot, of course, those Oathbound chests. Of course, they have the hammers inside of them. If you're lucky, you might be able to get one, and we can see them right here. There they are, the beautiful, majestic Oathbound chests, and that's what these teams are going for. We have so many teams contesting these for those Oathbound chests. It's going to be so important for the teams that are landing here today to try and take control of it. And of course, you can take control of the POI by taking control of that capture point as well. But Jenny, the north side has some advantages too.
Yeah, so that south side is absolutely amazing. However, it is lacking on one thing, and that is metal. So as you can see, there's so much metal available here on that north side, as well as abundance of chests, but there also is amazing amount of ground loot on in that north side as well, including a hammer. Majority of the time, you're gonna leave this PR, you're gonna at least have one hammer just from ground loot, which is super crazy and awesome.
It is, and it's one of those POIs where it is worth fighting for. There's so much action going on there. And Jenny, it's in an interesting area of the map, isn't it?
Yeah, so as you can see, Faulty Splits is the POI that we're talking about, and it is right here. It is in the south side of the map. We said it was split into two. So this is that city area right here, and we call that the north. This is going to be that medieval town right here. And again, this is their main area that you're going to look for all of your chests, and this is actually the most conned area that we see. Here, the teams will actually end up like rotating through, and again, like, you know, if you pull North Zone, South Zone, you're already south, but North Zone's a very interesting rotate here. And Minnie, isn't that right? Like, it's definitely like when you go up here, it's super interesting how this rotates out.
It is super interesting. Now, this is actually the most contested POI out of any of the POIs in all regions. An average of over 3 teams are landing here, and this is why. We can see the rotate that a lot of the teams are making. Asian and Canada did so much last week. There's not too many POIs, not too much areas in which teams are landing. Of course, we do have teams landing on this side, but there's just like a little highway to the center of the map. We saw Asian and Canada doing that last week, rotating through this area, even stopping off at some of the pit stops at the gas stations, but it just gives you a little freeway into the center of the map to get that storm surge damage. Asian and Canada, of course, our first place team last week, they took advantage of those positionings, and as Jenny mentioned, some of those teams will be rotating into that north side and taking advantage of that positioning on the map, because it is a good one.
All right, so now we know a little bit about why this POI is so powerful. Let's head this way. As now we discuss another little visual tactic here, splitting a POI. So we want to highlight 2 duels for you guys. One has a little bit more of a passive playstyle when it comes to splitting a POI. Another duel will have a more aggressive playstyle. Where do we want to start?
Yeah, so our top 3 teams last week did end up splitting a main POI. I want to highlight the differences into how you can play that out. Although it's a similar circumstance, teams do play it differently. So, Jenny, Asian and Canada, as Zeke mentioned, they're a little bit more passive in their approach.
Yes, they are. As we said, too, they're landing the north, and they are claiming a lot of that territory. However, with that being said, they're not able to, be fighting completely off spawn. So, in this case, they're going to be waiting for the team south to fight so that they can third party, get those storm tags, and be taken care of before rotating out. And again, too, you'll see Agers here finding a hammer, looting that entire area because it is a vast area and he needs to loot it quickly. So he's using that hammer to bop around, get all the loot, pick it up, and get ready to rotate out.
Yeah, the main takeaway from this is that Asian and Canada, they play a little bit more passively, a little bit more slowly with their storm surge tactics. They could easily rotate and push the teams like Mega, of course, landing on that south side, and of course, Jack and Kwa. They could easily push in. They could easily fight them, but what they're doing is they're a little bit more careful, a little bit more calm with their approach, because they know that they can get the loot that they need from this north side. They're just able to sit back, take tags, and as we mentioned earlier on, able just to rotate out as freely as they want. And of course, they're stopping off at these gas stations. They're able to take some pit stops, using their hammers to their advantage. And their advantage, it's not bad, is it?
It is definitely not bad. They need to continue, in my opinion, to do this playstyle because apparently, as you can see, it is working very well for them. And again, having that approach, only taking, I wouldn't even say full fights, but take the necessary precautions to get above Storm Surge, but not going full force, taking a fight that's not needed is definitely so important in this meta.
Yeah, it really is. You can see that with the average placement of 9.5. They're so consistent, and they can do this because they're not actually taking those risky fights off spawn. They're just able to keep their momentum going throughout the game and just take the Storm Surge tags where it matters, and that's great from them. 9.5 is crazy.
Yeah, so absolutely. Good. So this is a little bit of a passive playstyle. Yeah. Let's focus in on a more aggressive playstyle over at Slappy Shores. It's Peterbot, it's Booga. Let's hear about them.
Yeah, so these guys are a little bit more aggressive, as Zeke mentioned. Of course, in this particular example, Peterbot does get 2 knocks out of the sky. And of course, Asian Canada might do the same, but they wouldn't push in. Peterbot and Booga, they're different. They are wanting to push in. So this is really, really good from Peterbot. He's allowing himself to get this quick wood. There's this little wooden planks area, which allows him to get up to 350 wood in this area alone, getting him kitted up for this fight. And of course, Jenny, that does have some advantages, but there's a few risky
There's a few little risky takes. Yeah, again, like we talked about too, like Peterbot is so great at getting eliminations in this game, and if he's gonna go take it out, he's like, okay, I see hide and seek over here in the corner. He's a solo. Why not take this 2v1? Because the chances of winning that are very, high. But in some cases, as we see here, it didn't end in their favor. So you're gonna have to change up their play style a little here, and you can see too, they did exactly that. They did not rush in using that zip line. They just said, we're gonna sneak attack a little bit. We're going to third party this, get the little tags I need, a few knocks, not too aggressive, and said, all right, we got what we need. Let's rotate out smoothly. and make our way to the storm.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. This is exactly what this duo have done. They've actually adapted their playstyle midway through the tournament. This is actually game 6 of last week's finals, and instead of pushing in, instead of going for that 1v2 like they did with hide and seek, they backed off. They got their storm surge well, and of course in that game they did really, really well. I mean, look at their performances. 2 victory royales.
Yeah, and again, I think switching it up, like they're like, all right, this is kind of maybe where we went wrong. This is a potential mistake we made. How can we adapt? Can we change? You know, they did exactly that. And so looking at the stats, like you can see they performed so well. But if they continue to make the changes necessary, we're going to see them like just rising to the top continuously. And I'm going to keep my eye on this duo for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we can see that with the average placement as well. We saw Aegis and Canada with an incredible average placement. But of course, Booger and Peachpot not quite matching that, but they do have the 2 victory royales. So they are a little bit more aggressive in their approach, which can, of course, carry some risk, which we see that. But we know, as we can see, when they get to the end game, they are likely to pick up a victory royale. I mean, 2 out of 6 games, Zeke, that is almost unheard of in this sort of format.
Yeah, especially when you're looking at the caliber of players we're already seeing, right? I mean, now, question for you. Could these 2 duos go head-to-head? I mean, is that possible? It's not that far apart, right? I mean, they could very well run into each other.
They could. I think with the Storm Surge strategy that both duos have, they shouldn't have to, right? They shouldn't have to interact. They shouldn't have to butt heads. But if they do, it could be a tasty fight. It could be an interesting fight to take a look at. 2 top-tier duos. But as I mentioned, they shouldn't have too many issues with Surge today. But Booger and Peterbot, of course, they did take advantage of teams contesting on the south side. Now, Acorn and Cold are uncontested. So will it affect the Storm Surge strategy? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, Jenny, we actually were talking about the fact that now these duos are uncontested.
Yes.
They might be they want to go aggressive, right?
They do,
and they kind of have to slow themselves down a little bit.
Yeah, and again, too, like you said, like that aggression kind of comes when you get an elimination. You're kind of like, ooh, I want another one. You know, it just builds. So, you know, to take the second to say, okay, let me stay cool, let me stay calm, let me stay collected. I got what I needed. Let's put myself in a good position to set myself up for endgame, get myself in a good position, again, to place well and potentially get a victory royale.
I love the breakdown. Now, of course, it's not just us talking about Fortnite. We have 2 casters as well. It's none other than 11-2K and Jacob PR. The most beautiful humans I've ever met in my entire life.
Not the first time I've heard it.
I was talking about Mini, Minor, and Jenny. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That guy. Anyway, friends, welcome to week number 2. Here we are back in NA East. Week 1, wild. Do you expect we to be the same, more, less?
It's going to be a different dynamic, right? Because, you know, you guys mentioned it earlier on. We have a bunch of teams who were playing here last week, and so they'll feel comfortable. They'll feel like, yeah, we got enough series points. There's a lot of teams who didn't get the chance, and they'll be feeling we really have to put on our best performance if there's any chance of us making it to the grand finals.
And then you add on the fact that there was a few teams in there that just didn't have a good performance in week number 1, and they're not used to that. They're used to performing to just a higher caliber of play, and I think that this week is going to be a little bit of a redemption arc, just a little bit.
Just a tiny little bit, or at least we hope, right? Of course.
Yeah.
There's still so much Fortnite to watch. 6 games ahead of us. Anything you guys are maybe looking forward to seeing?
I am looking forward to seeing the best of the best players who aren't contested today actually get a chance. The likes of Yomzo and Rise definitely come to mind.
Yeah, of course. I'm telling you, man, the contested versus uncontested. It's going to be a doozy today. We'll get into that right now, in fact, because guess what? Game number 1 is ready to go. That's right, NA East. Find your seats on the bus. It's game time.
Zeke said it, game time is among us for NA East. We talked about these top teams having another go around to really make everybody else around them regret their decisions. Booga, Peterbot, I want to see if they can keep up that aggression that they've been showing after a week.
Yeah, and look, if you're Booga and Peterbot, there are so many different angles you can look at it, right? Do you, on one hand, decide, look, Acorn and Cold, they had a tough time last week. Yep. Let's make it even tougher for them right now. We know we're going to be good when it comes to our series points. Let's just make it very awkward for them. Or do they go, let's play to the best of our abilities, right? We don't have a team to bully now south of us in terms of 2 fights. How do we play this in that situation? A lot to be decided there, right? So there's so many angles, and you can look at every team in the lobby and look at all these different ways in which they can adjust, ways they can play. We can just wait and find out, right? We have the games ready. The battle bus is loaded.
And it's ready to go. Levin, this is what we have been waiting for. These past 2 days, teams earning their right just to play in the finals for week number 2. And it's going to start off with a 50-50 right out of the gates. Mikey and Smack getting that first down, using the pickaxe. Chubbs trying to fire back. He gets one of the only weapons, the Twin Mag SMG, but he runs out of ammo against the heavy. And there goes Mike taking him down.
A hot start to this game. and plenty more action on the way. Mikey, Smack doing a brilliant job there just to survive. Those 50-50 fights are always the toughest.
Really, 4 players, 1 chest. Those are the results, and I love to see it. Swirl, Aoxy going down, Chaos Gaming, Time 1X. They end up in the same box. Chaos, they bait and switch, working to perfection, but now they're both low HP. Aoxy tries to clean it up, and back-to-back fights decided in seconds.
Chaos Gaming in Time. I love the way they play that, Jacob, right? Both taking different angles, making sure that they really pincer their opponent in, not playing any games when it comes to this first off-spawn battle, playing it with the right fundamentals.
Oh, and you can already see Scope losing visuals along the way. Users, he is knocked already. Polarized trying to get that res, and you look at what Scope has, very, very little to work with. So it's interesting to see how he's going to play this one out, continuously trying to put the pressure on and break through the builds, but sooner or later, that's going to have to end. He has no more medium ammo in his inventory.
Yeah, and if you're playing this kind of situation, right, you honestly don't have any hope of taking a fight. You know, in the instant moments after your teammate goes down, maybe you can, sneak up and get a 1v2. Try go for something crazy, whatever it is. But with what Scopes was working with there, the best thing is to just hit the drawing board, retreat a little bit, loot up, get something to work with.
Ooh.
This is not going to be ideal, so I was going to say this is interesting. This is very interesting, right? Because we expected the Yomzo and Rise to have no off-spawn problems today. But as you can already see, it doesn't really appear to be that way. Rise now is having to 1v1 yet again, and it's Braze who's going to be on the receiving ends. Can Braves upset the apple cart here in game 1?
He's done it before. He could possibly do it again, especially Braids individually. Him and Moo landing at this spot. Half of the games last week going up against Yomzo and Rise, they did come out on top. They changed up their spot altogether, but this time around, they're back to where they began. Braids taking out Rise. Yomzo falling early on, so their struggles from week 1 will continue to week 2.
Yomzo and Rise, they started off last week incredibly well. This is not the start they would have wanted to have. That is going to be a very, very big momentum shifter for that duo. A duo that many expect to be one of the better teams in this lobby. And speaking of better teams, Acorn and Cold, we'll be watching them throughout the day. This time, no off-spawn battles over at Slappy. And that should hopefully be the recipe for success for that duo.
Yeah, and over at Shattered Slab, this is like the 7th go-around if you count week number 1. Muzz and Degen versus Tahi and Death. And you can see they're holding on to that capture point, saying, Muzz, hey, you could try and fight us, you could try and stop us, but you're going to have to do it over here. But he's going to go ahead and disengage from that fight. Jeff and Oliver OG. This is actually one of the teams I'm a huge fan of. Oliver OG is cool as a cucumber in almost every situation.
Yeah, I think he might be one of the most likable people in all of NA, right? In terms of just enjoyable to watch, of course. Always creating content on his own platforms. And so I'm sure there'll be a bunch of people rooting for them, and if they are, they'll be very happy with that shot Jeff just hit there. Hopefully you can piece together a couple more.
And he already looks like you can kind of see that's Chaos Gaming Live. That's Time 1X. They already won that off-spawn battle. For them, they have the surge. It's all about that rotation. So they don't really want anyone to fight that one.
Yeah, and looking at Booger and Peterbot. I almost said Boogerbot. Maybe we should just start calling them Boogerbot.
Hey, that's their dual
there,
name
I said
at this
it.
Point.
Booger Peterbot. Give me a nickname or I'm calling you Boogerbot. That's it.
Oh, what about this nickname right now between Clix and Donnie? Some of the most aggressive players throughout day number 1 and 2 of the qualifiers. 22 HP. He's trying to use that shield keg to his advantage to try to regen as much of the shield as possible. Not trying to put the pressure from below. Not wanting to let it come to fruition, but with that red-eye assault rifle, the DPS just isn't there to put the pressure on. But Donnie sees Nut trying to sneak on up, and he's just going to hound him like a dog. He's trying to pounce, take advantage of the numbers game while they have it. As Nut, he's dropped down to very little HP. Clix and Donnie stay in on their walls, but they get separated for just a second, and the third-party shots come in from Jackson.
This is a repeat of things we saw in week 1. An opportunity for Nut and Nosh to battle it out against Clix and Donnie, but third parties getting involved and making it oh so awkward for Clix. As fierce as he is, he's gonna have to scurry away. He does not have what it takes to deal with this right now. Jackson and D-Roller causing issues for the Anvil Square. Will they come out victorious all in all, though, because it's not the cleanest of third-party situations, right? Typically, if you're a team third-party and you want to come in as the two teams are fighting and just swoop in and clean it all up, it doesn't seem like it's going to work out that way. The pace of the fight all slowing down to a standstill.
And I like how they're just not getting too greedy in this situation. Nut and Nosh, they're trying to heal up. They're trying to restabilize themselves in this position. And this might have been a blessing in disguise for Nut and Nosh. You saw he was getting 2v1. The pressure was there. HP getting dropped down low. As soon as that third party comes in, a moment for them to disengage and try to re-find themselves in that situation. But a team that I'm really excited to see week after week, Trashy and Pump, one of 10 teams to get over 100 eliminations throughout these last 2 days. We know the aggression is there. It's all about the consistency for them in these finals lobbies.
Yeah, and can that fragging power translate into these lobbies, right? When you get into these incredibly difficult ones, you don't have maybe some of the lower level elite players in your lobbies who you can feast on. You are playing against the best of the best in your region for that week at least. Very fitting how as soon as I say best of the best, they start panning the camera over to Canada, right?
That's that cue in the back. Canada and Asia, first placed, week number 1. And honestly, it was a little shaky watching them yesterday performing, trying to get into this finals. There was even a moment where I was thinking, are they going to make it in? Are they not going to make it in? But then when their backs up against the wall in that final game, they clutched up, they qualified, they secured their spot. And one thing Fortnite has taught me is all you need is a chance. 50th, first, it all is the same in those qualifier lobbies.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing when you watch this team now that they are here in finals is that question of, look, they've you know, done what they need to do, right? The fact that they've made it here to this round alone, regardless of where they place, they're most likely going to be able to qualify off of that with, you know, the series points into the FNCS final for this major. So do they now play a different way, maybe, right? Do they look to almost, you know, upset people in the lobby who are hoping to get that opportunity? Or do they just stick to their regular game and get the reps in, put the practice in as normal? It's always going to be the decisions those kind of teams have to make, especially after they do so well so early on.
And something you do typically see from those teams that know they can have that consistent game, they can pop off at a moment's notice. They just want to kind of scare every single team towards Faulty splits out. You see Serves taking damage there in that moment. He's going to try to escape. Walker's invert. Another team throughout these past 2 days that has been performing to a very, very high level. It's all about in these finals lobbies. And that's something I feel like we're going to talk about throughout the course of these qualifiers. It's just a whole different beast. You got to be able to adapt. You got to revamp your gameplay just a little bit because the caliber of players are just simply different. And for them, they're going over to the Citadel fight where you saw multiple teams begin to rotate past. The shots are going to fire off. They're just looking for surge so they can set themselves up for a great mid game.
Yeah, they were looking very, very good. Max materials, a bunch of shields. Joji and Rokane, maybe not looking as strong as that team, but nevertheless, they're making their way there.
Ooh, I like it. Clicks is coming back. No man left behind is what he's saying. As looks like he's trying to go for an attempt on a Donnie's reboot card. Nosh and not going too far off. They know eventually he's got to return to here, but so many teams nearby. Huge shot from Clicks. Back to back at that. Great use of the cows captures coming out from Nut as well to try to have that extra bit of cover to try to shield himself from the shots. And you see Nexi, Narwhal, they're hearing all that action go down. They're ready to third party. They're just waiting for that perfect moment to strike.
Yeah, brilliant peek there from Clicks. And he was going all out there. Ultimately will fall at the hands of Nosh and Nut, but did not fall without a fight. And you can see a bit of emote in there just to celebrate. Add a bit of salt to the wound. As Clicks and Donnie now will have to wait for game number 2 to make their impression.
But the interesting thing is, Bugha and Peterbot over 170 eliminations throughout those last 2 days. We haven't seen much of them in terms of eliminations, but Vivid has been keeping a close eye on what we've been seeing.
A close eye indeed. We're making sure we stay up to date with Bugha and Peterborough. As Jacob mentioned, they're our #1 team throughout sessions 1 and 2. No aggression out of them in this early game right now, which was I can see them making that rotate to the north here, looking for tags, and actually in that present location they were just at, still looking for Storm Surge as well. The rotations are looking too good, and they have to scurry for Storm Surge. We'll have to see how they deal with the pressure as it builds.
Thank you, Vivid. This is something I really want to follow, because what we've seen, right, across the pond over in EU, right, is that when Tayson and Mustache land north side of Slappy and they aren't contested, they struggle with Surge sometimes, right? And they're one of the teams I look at and think, best team in the world, right? Bugha, Peterbot, another one of those teams where you look at the caliber of players they are, one of the best teams in the world, how are they going to deal with Surge now that they are uncon north side of Slappy and there isn't a fight for them to bully in the south side? Game 1, they're already struggling. That's not a good sign for me.
Yeah, and I like that storyline as it continues to develop, because how is that going to lead into the rest of the game? Where is their focus going to lie? What are their game plan and strategy coming into this one? As Clarity and Casker, as you can kind of see, they're trying to set themselves up to where they can gatekeep a lot of these southern teams. Everybody trying to rotate in. They're going to have the first shot at that one with the Red Eye Assault Rifle. And it looks like they might possibly need it. They might not, as well as Demonics and Nick outside of zone 466, above the damage threshold. Even though they don't have eliminations, they're setting themselves up so they can focus simply on those rotations.
Yeah, and where they are in the zone, way up towards the northeast of the map there, you can see those light blue arrows at the very top. They'll be able to make their way into the north of the zone very, very easy. They're not going to struggle one bit. And so them being up on Surge, the good thing about it at this position is that they can now look to maybe go and loot up maybe anything that they want to grab that they feel like they're missing. The ammo is not the best on them, right? They could do with a bit more shields, right? There'll be a chance for them to refarm, you know, re-loot if they need to. But all is well for that team in terms of Surge, as you said. And so that will make the rest of this game a bit easier. Joji not having the easiest of times as he moves on in. This is a team that has shown us already that they can be incredibly consistent in these lobbies in week 1. And so, of course, I'm sure they'll look to run it back at that level. Down on Surge, though, and so need to start hitting some shots and fast.
And to me, that's just the other end of the spectrum when it comes to that Storm Surge. One team's able to focus on rotations, focus on regathering the resources. Meanwhile, Rokane, Joji, they're just trying to gather the information, figure out what team is so far solidified in a position to where they can go ahead and pounce. There's one team that they have their eyes on right now, looking into the distance, trying to catch somebody sleeping. They're going to get tagged up just a little bit as they continue to fall below the threshold. Joji having to find a moment to stabilize along with Rokane. This is going to be the perfect time to do just that.
Yeah, and that was a rough peak there for Joji, right? Was very ambitious in his peak. Obviously, he has shields to be able to get himself back up, but he didn't really hit many shots out of it, right? So it wasn't the most worth it of fights out of AV, sorry. Unfortunate, they had to take a bunch of damage, 200 down below, and this is one of the worst situations you can be on the map here. Down on Surge, not in the zone, running low on your shields as well. You burn through them and just continuing to just be a...
That was just the worst pull, too, as it continues to pull north. It continues to pull west. That makes their job that much harder. 256 below. They're going to go through one of the most congested parts of the zone. And AV, he's instantly going to go down. Egoist is now feeling the effects of not only being focused from the lobby, but Storm Surge beginning to tick in. You see the resources being passed around from AV, as it does look like he's going to try to out-heal it. Couple splashes going down. Shield Keg is actually going to be destroyed. So plan B is gone. Now he's going to have to go for plan C as the shots continue to come in from all other directions. You see at least 3 duos focusing this one, and that's going to be Rihan taking him out. 4 more points added to their total. But the struggles still continue for some of these teams in the lobby. As Costa and Zeus, they're trying to target out Rokane and Joji, who are being the victim of Storm Surge and the victim of Acorn as well, as they find that elimination across the map. They're trying to get something for their efforts here, even if it's not the elimination themselves.
Start continuing to apply pressure. He wants to find more than what he has, but what he has may just be plenty. That refresh will keep them ticking in this game. Of course, they do have a ways to go to get to zone. A max distance rotate for them right now. And with a bunch of different teams around them, they're going to have to be very, very careful about how they approach. Ooh. What a shot from Costa. What a player. A brilliant shot. Cleans up Rokane. And now they make their move. We've got some replays of some of the other action. Jeff caught sleeping in that one.
Vex really just becoming the target of the lobby. From one to the next. Redux.
Wow. On
a roll right here. Getting to get the spoils. Oh, he gets taken down. Trying to go for all that loot that's encrypted. And Ducky gonna say, nah, that might have been your elimination, but this is our loot. We've earned it here at this stage of the game. As Snake Zera, he's just trying to survive right here. He's gonna have to think what is gonna happen, since now he can no longer gather those shockwave hammers. That's still down on Surge.
Still down on Surge, and so regardless of how positive the outlook might be, that is always going to be something that darkens it, taints it, makes things oh so difficult. The good thing is they're not a crazy amount below, right? And so you'd think a couple shots here and there, which you know they're capable of, will move them above. And as I said, they start hitting some shots, even pick up a knock onto Nosh. So that's going to go a long ways away, right? You see them already now up above 129, continuing to make their way into zone. The problem is, Jacob, is that when I look at what they have available to them when it comes to shields and even now resources, I am not impressed one bit.
Yeah, it almost feel like it needed to go for that siphon and refresh, but they didn't like the position it would probably put him in. As it continues to pull a little bit north, it's going to be hard for these teams that are stuck on that congested south side of the zone. But back on board, a team that doesn't have to worry about Surge too much. Booga, Peterbot, you can see that their proactivity in terms of just straight-up eliminations has slowed down from the qualifiers. They're now trying to play a more concise game, really think about every single move they make as they continue to peek through the cone. This information that Peterbot's gathering is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, we know what they can do when the game hits this stage, when they're feeling it. I was a bit worried for a second there, seeing Canada down, but he has been picked up and he does have enough shields to get himself back up. But look at how many players are here on this storm line in the bottom right of your screen. The majority of the lobby is here.
There's literally one team in zone. Maybe a second one going in the moment I kind of call it out. That is really showing how grueling this lobby is going to be, especially with that North Pole.
It is hammers or go back to the lobby, basically. If you have a hammer, you'll be licking your lips at this one, thinking, we're good, we're fine. But for the teams that do not, you really have to start planning. And Shaw and Zypher exactly that, scouting around endlessly.
You almost can't even play your own game. You have to sit there, wait for all these other players to begin to move forward before you can start to make your rotation. And the other side, a team that doesn't have to worry about it, Acorn and Cold, but Cold taking a huge amount of damage out through the sky, trying to shockwave his rotate in, but with Danger Hero, his HP is going to be brought back up in no time as they're trying to find that spot in zone, under pressure. Smack, he's trying to go ahead and go up against Agers. They might have taken out Kanata very, very early on in this exact same spot. You see Agers right by. They're not going to stay to try to get that second elimination. They know how crucial it is to get to zone sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and a decent position picked up there as well. Not being pressured by anybody by any means.
That play right there. Straight up, they spot Kanata. Oh, the pouncing. That's the power of the Shockwave Hammers. Even if they didn't intend to focus out Kanata right there.
Yeah, Kanata had no clue it was coming. Got caught with his pants down. And now he's just going to have to watch from the sidelines. Fortunately, he does have a teammate in Aegis who is no stranger to a clutch at all. Went absolutely ballistic in one of the games as a solo last week. But this is definitely a harder situation for him. 0 materials right now. A near impossible situation, you might think.
Some say impossible. Agers says this is just a warm-up for him. A very interesting one at that, but it was very, very crucial and instrumental in their success last week, getting that first place as Booga and Peterbot began to heat up late into those games. We saw Rihan get an elimination very, very early on. They got 3 as a team so far. You got to imagine when it comes to Storm Surge, it's not a worry. It's about focusing, putting pressure on everybody else in the lobby, because this is a battle royal. It's all about being that last one standing at the end of the day.
Yeah, and who will be the last one standing? That is the question we have for this one. So many different teams following their journeys throughout this game. There's been some ups and downs, some struggles. Of course, the likes of Booga and Peterbot. With all that loot there, you might just say the rich get richer. These guys are looking good. And they are set up well. Really, you might want to pop a big pop. Of course, Peterbot needs to pop some shields themselves. Don't want to be too greedy. We all know what can happen when you aren't paying attention in these end games. Hammers flying around everywhere and anywhere. Clarity, G, and Casca. They're going to make their move now. Not a long ways to go to get into zone. But nevertheless, a nice little rotation. Only using a bit of wood. And now as they get into zone, switching to that metal, that extra bit of protection.
Yeah, saving the resources was crucial because they don't have a Shockwave Hammer to their disposal. So the resources and how long they're able to hold on to them is going to be very, very important in terms of their end game. And you see everybody poised, positioned here. Users in Polarized going to be the ones at the top of the mountain, able to survey the land, gather that information, especially when this next zone pulls. They have that Shockwave Hammer. If they don't have the front side, they can instantly try to take it away as another team, Trashy and Pump, trying to get themselves that meet in the middle style layer to where they don't worry about the low ground. They don't have to worry about the high ground. They just worry about themselves.
Zone is about to pop. There will be some players that have Storm Scout, and so they know exactly where they're going. I say Storm Scout, sorry. Thinking of the wrong thing.
All right. Cease.
We'll make mistakes. Cease and Tragic, though. You can see they're marking the zone. Cease, that IG out. The one making that cerebral plan.
One of the most veteran players that we have on the stage today. Dating all the way back to the summer skirmishes. Let's forget about World Cup for now. This is a huge opportunity for him to show him that the OGs can really stand at this day and age when it comes to Fortnite. As Acorn and Cold, it looks like they're just out of heals. They're out of resources. They're going to need a refresh sooner rather than later. But this is a team. This is a duo. I expect to be able to propel themselves when the back is up against their wall. 273 damage above the threshold. Storm Surge is not going to be a worry for them. So you're going to see them try to pick and choose their battles, figure out which layer they want to go ahead and take before they make themselves to the end game.
Yeah, players are all starting to fly about. You see the hammers coming in. Booga and Peterbot, they are being just a bit more patient, waiting, biding their time, waiting for that zone to catch up before they pick their position. Mega and Justice aren't as patient though. And we're seeing the effects of that now. Mega in the midst of a box fight. He needs to get out, create some space. A little cheeky piece there, doesn't catch his opponent. But nearly Walker's big shot there. And already connected with even bigger shots as they start to break their way through into zone.
Yep. Trying to keep that aggression going from the past few days of qualifier. 645 above the damage threshold. All they need to do is stay consistent as Trash and Pump have the high ground. Peterbot going for a huge contest. Booga slowly but surely shockwave hammering, trying to get onto their layer. It looks like for now they have secured it. They have overtaken both Pump and Trashy. Now they're trying to pressure them down, but shockwave hammer meaning everybody comes tumbling down.
The fight is far from done. But right now, it looks like Peterbot and Booga are the favorable ones. Peterbot needs to be careful, though. He's taking some damage. He has to stop in here when it's Casca and Clarity. They want a piece of this fight.
Everybody wants to get their hands busy. They want to get warmed up and ready to go. What a huge fight. Clarity dropped down to 5 HP. Everything comes tumbling down yet again. Rihan right out of the sky. That's going to be a huge shot, getting the knock onto Clarity. But he keeps tumbling down. The chaos will continue as Rihan finally gets that charge up to the shockwave hammer, trying to take the high ground. He has a plan B if it doesn't come to fruition, but they save the day. Casper's just getting sniped out of the air.
Casca and Clarity got wiped out of the game. No height for you. And I don't know even what just happened on height. There's so much changing of hands. But down below, Walkers and Vert, they're still on their tear, still on their rampage. Walkers is still hitting big shots. He's now got 3. And there are players up, down, around him. Can he connect again? A big shot there. Won't be in a limb. But more to come as they have no match, so they have to get in. Walkers, he keeps on doing it. Can he do it again, Walkers? He picks it up again. How does he keep hitting these shots? The hammer now to move on into zone. Walkers is going insane.
If you don't let him in, he's going to get in one way or another. 5 eliminations. Really putting it on for him and Vert. Booga, Peterbot, they're finally going to lose each other as Peterbot goes down. Booga trying to get out of dodge. 42 HP. Ends up into another box, and he gets his life saved by somebody else, but he's now into the zone, taking a lot of damage. He has to be able to pop the med miss. Booga goes down, and that's Cold who takes him out.
Before falling himself at the hands of Trashy, Tragic's now one of the many solos left. Walkers, he's practically played this game as a solo when it comes to the elims. And so he's going to keep it moving. There are players all around him. Pump will fall. That's another as well. That's 2. Can he pick up the 3rd right now? Walkers has picked up so many of these elims all by himself. Not missing a single shot, it seems.
Talk about perfect timing to get both of those Sipens just in the nick of it. As Rihan, Deki toes the high ground. Tragics, he lost Cease moments ago. He's trying to get as many points as possible. So many other teams real here just trying to get through this chaos. But there's this one team really standing tall, high in the clouds.
They have been able to sit up, kick their feet back as they watch everybody else in this lobby go to work, take each other out. Walkers has done half of that job. He's med missing in the back of the zone. He wants to just wait it out, bide his time. He's done such a brilliant job to this moment. And so if it was to all stop now, I'm sure he'd be satisfied, but he can squeeze a little bit more out of this game. Jasmine Chris will try and stop him from doing so, and they might just have found their match. See, he's still down below.
1 of 2 duos left in the game. This is going to be huge, Levin, as Walkers. It's all about the placement points for him, trying to get through this one. High ground, low ground, mid ground, everybody just biding their time, being patient because they know as soon as zone pulls off of this mountain, that's when chaos is going to ensue.
Patience is waning, the hammers will come out, but barely missing and then going right back up. Rihan's ready though, he keeps it. Walkers finally falls, and so the final 2v2 ensues.
It's all going to come down to this moment right here. quickly trying to drop down low. He doesn't have any builds to continue to hold on to this height. It does look like he's going to send his teammate down for the 1v2. Shockwave hammering outside of zone, trying to get back in. Yaz goes down. Chris trying to return, but he gets denied. Victory Royale to Rihan and DK.
What an ending to that game. Showcasing exactly why the Hammers have been so strong this season. In the final moment, not even bothering to fight your opponents, just knock them way into the storm. They can't do anything about it, and winning out the game. They took height incredibly well. They wiped out Casco and Clarity, and then they win game 1. Rihan and Desi, nicely done.
Just when I have thought I've seen everything, I thought I've seen every way to secure a victory.
That's not even fair.
The Shockwave Hammer, that one has to go down to one of the best plays we will see this weekend, and it's only game 1.
I mean, if you're on the receiving end of that, what do you even do? What do you even say? You're sitting there thinking, I mean, we did what we could, I guess, right? Oh my goodness, Rihan and Desi, they'll be overjoyed. I'd love to hear the comms on that one. I'm sure you're screaming, oh my God, I just hammered him. What a game 1. We have plenty more on the way though, Jacob.
Yeah, plenty more to go because I need a breather after that one. I need to really figure out what went down through that endgame. Shockwave hammers, if you don't have them, I feel sorry for you. Zeke, analyst, break it all down for us.
Is there a crazier way to start out NA East? I mean, the Shockwave hammer play, that's the first time I think we've actually gotten like a really good look at it from a player perspective. We've kind of seen it happen in different perspectives, high camera angles, but to actually see someone jump in and just be like, you guys are in the storm now, have fun, take tick damage, and you're going to struggle to get back. Crazy.
Yeah, what a game for Rihan, and what a way to close it out, of course, as well. We talked so much about the Shockwave hammers being used as mobility, being used as rotation, the right click, the bounce, but we haven't really talked much about the slam feature of it, right? Of course, right here, just all the way up on high ground, they took it, at the perfect moment, and it was absolutely well played. Even when they had no builds, Jenny, they still made it work.
Yeah, and you know, that was actually what you just said, the timing. They waited for their opportunity to take that high ground, and they played it so well. The timing, and just taking them out with that Shockwave hammer, jumping down, realizing, you know what, they're not going to build back up. I'm just going to take him out with the hammer. Why not?
That's my favorite play of the season already.
It's
it's
so good.
literally week 2, and I've already got my favorite. That's my favorite.
It was crazy, too, because if you looked at the loadout, only had precision in. That's why you saw him double back. Had to find the shotgun to try and close out that game right there. They will sit pretty. After game number 1, 101 points, a massive way to begin the day. But the question becomes, can they keep that momentum rolling?
I hope so for them. I really do hope so. Of course, we saw so many of our other teams playing so well, of course, as well. Walker's being one of them. Solo clutch king. Unbelievable stuff. I mean, how many eliminations did you have? 8 eliminations, I think it was, on his own. He was carrying his teammate Vert on his back almost. Sorry, Vert, but, you know, he did at that moment. But it was good from Walker's. He was just popping off where it mattered most. And, of course, Vert did go down, but, you know, what a performance.
You know what's so crazy? Walker's just got this confidence. He's like, I'm getting elimination after elimination. He continuously hit his shots. And I think something about that is when you just start hitting your shots, you know, you get that sense of confidence, and you're like, I can do this as a solo. You see him take, you know, holding that low ground, so smart. The teams are like, it's fine. We're not going to push it. We're not going to risk it. 2v1 can still happen. They could still take, you know, them out. So they weren't going to chance it. He was able to have such a good placement on top of the crazy amount of eliminations he got. Well done, Walker.
I mean, Walker's been one of the up-and-coming players in the region as well. We've seen him perform at this level so many times, and that is just a display of what this player can do. He knows how to play those end games. He knows how to navigate, and that fragging ability, second to none.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just love, even just looking at our top 10 here, there's a few members of the old guard here as well, right? But a lot of new faces looking to kind of have that spotlight here in NA East. You do love to see it. Peterbot, Bugha here in that last game as well. I mean, they're on another level. It didn't quite work out in the very end, but they have a pretty strong start here.
Yeah, at the beginning of the show, we talked a little bit about how they are uncontested now on that south side. Of course, they have the north. They don't have that surge off spawn, and they had all the answers in this game. They were playing really passively, getting that storm surge early on at that north side. Vivid pointed out really well in the mid-game package. They are so adaptable, and I think it just highlights the experience of both of the players. Of course, we know Bugha. We didn't know already. He's actually the World Cup champion, so just a little fun fact for anyone out there. He actually won World Cup, did you know? But no, these guys are absolutely incredible at what they do, and it's just showing what they can do is be adaptable, and it's proving to work out very well.
Yeah, again, we highlighted them at the beginning of the show because they really are such a team to highlight. It's important that we keep our eyes on them. Again, like you said, the way that they adapt, the way that they change, and the way that they were like, all right, you know what, let's maybe not play aggressive. Let's make it to endgame so that we can have our chances at a victory royale. But they played it, again, so well. The positioning, the way that they had thought through just every little detail of what they were going to do. I'm super proud of them. But, you know, I definitely do want to see a little bit more. Hopefully maybe even take a W because they definitely can do it.
Yeah, and this is also coming out the point you guys made at the beginning of the show, right? These guys are uncontested. So that means there is no one landing at their POI right now, so they can't get those early Storm Surge. So not only do they have to adapt in that mid game, but they still made a top 10 placement out of just one game. So they still have 5 more to kind of say, what do we need to change up? How do we do this?
Yeah, so like you said, yeah, they don't have that contest. And also Acorn and Cold on the other side are not contested. So with that being said, even if they did want to go for that, they're going to have to just face 2v2. Like, they're not going to be able to go in and they're not going to be able to say, okay, like, you're already fighting. Let's just, you know, let's just third party this. They can't do that. They have to be very prepared and think, okay, do I actually want to be this aggressive? Yes or no? So we'll have to see if they make that decision later on in the games.
And I think that'll develop. I think that'll adapt throughout the course of the day, right? If they're doing well, if Booga and Peterbot are doing well, they might not want to take that fight. But if they're a little bit lower down on the leaderboard, they might need those Storm Surge tags early on. So we might see a little bit of adaptation from both teams here.
Yeah, that's right. We'll definitely be keeping a close eye on this as the games move on. But it is time. Game number 2 is ready. We hope yours as well. Let's jump into it.
Game number 2 is here. Who will step up? We saw a couple different things to start off the day, but nevertheless, right, the players are here, they are ready, some more ready than others. Though.
Yeah, and honestly, after that Shockwave Hammer heard around the world, I don't think it can get any better than that in terms of end game finishes. That one's going to go down for the ages, but for a lot of these players, Levin, they really have to test themselves. We talked about Yamto and Rise, contested, a surprise contestation at that.
Yeah, look, Braids 1v2 them, right? And that's not something you're going to say every day when it comes to Yomzo and Rise. Of course, Yomzo chalking it down to good luck in terms of the loot that Braids was able to pick up, you know, on social media. Nevertheless, regardless of the loot, you have to come out and you have to win your battles off spawn. Will they be able to do it? We saw them start off last week really well. They've not been able to do that today as they hop in to the map right now. Will it be their time to win?
We saw a few teams out of the gate get contested and get dropped very, very early on. 0 points for their efforts after game number 1. But it's a new day, a new game here in game number 2, and a new chance to really let that fire in your heart burn. Honestly, I think a lot of these teams have the passion. They just need to match it with consistency over time.
That consistency over time, it's not something easy. It's easy in words, but not as easy in actuality. Aoxy and Swell, one of the more 50-50 drop spots here on the map. We always see this fight take place on EU and NA. Oh, they win though. No weapons so far for here. See, he's going to want to open that chest very soon. Swell, going at Chaos Gaming. Attacking from the left, attacking from above. Which way is he going to come from? Big shot there, just to push him off for a moment. Oh no, this fight is in full. Swell falls, but not without picking up one, and Aoxy has to hit it. No! Again! Aoxy and Swell will lose off spawn. Chaos Gaming in time. They have got their number so far.
That was huge for Chaos. He bought so much time in the world for his teammate to loot a little bit of a different spot, rotate on over and help him finish that one off. Yamzo and Rise trying to have a much better opportunity, taking that piece control right from below, stealing away from the chest right from beneath him. That extra bit of resources really could make the difference, especially in the form of chug splashes. The instant heals, you know, is one of the most important things now in Fortnite. Pressure there from Moo. Braids having a little bit of a different angle as well. And the way they play the high ground is going to be interesting because Yamzo and Rise on the low ground, they can just simply stay there. They can force them, say, hey, if you want to fight, you have to come to us.
And that's exactly why Moo's going to just sit there and farm, right? Make sure he can get his mats up so that when the fight does break out, they're ready for it.
This is an important fight right here because for Yamzo and Rise, we've seen what they're capable of last week in the few games that they've actually been able to get out of their POI. They even had a huge victory route to really start the day. And this is where Moo, Braids, they got what they wanted. They got the early damage, and now they're just going to disengage, try to loot up, give themselves more to work with.
And I think that's probably going to be the wise choice. Of course, a chance now for Yomzo and Rice to actually get to play out a game, which I'm sure that will be desperately wanting to do.
Snake already losing his teammate early on. Revives reciprocal, ready to just finish the job. And that's exactly when you have those situations, 2v1, separated from everybody else on the land, you have to take advantage of those moments.
Yeah, and of course, talk about taking advantage. The winners of that first game, you can see how happy they'll be. Nobody anywhere near them. Already have hammers. Here though, Qua. Oh wow, he's getting in. I like to see that from Qua. That level of aggression. Him and Jack picked that one up.
Pair of eliminations each. That's how you really get things started for them. Mega and Justice had a good game number 1. Now Quan and Jock are trying to mimic that performance. As Egoist and AV going against Zucked and Bronos over here towards Lonely Labs, trying to split and gather as much metal as possible. And a third-party team trying to sneak their way in. This is where you have to be careful, as the zone has a little bit of a push towards the western side of the map. The longer you stay here, the harder it's going to be for you to get in the zone safely.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because we often see those Lonely Lab fights play out maybe a bit quicker. And so for the potential, you know, third-party team coming in, it could be a great opportunity to maybe snag some damage you maybe typically wouldn't be able to pick up.
Brutal Bastion, Cease and Tragics, and Brutal Bastion is just one of those POIs where it's so massive. There's so much loot over here, and there's very many ways to rotate around the static launch pads if you find a Shockwave Hammer. So more times than not, you see that POI kind of get split between 2, maybe even more teams if it comes down to it. But Oliver OG and Jeff, they're in another altercation here against Chaos Gaming and Time 1X. Didn't necessarily go their way that first time, but this is their second chance at live, second chance to really make up for lost time. They have a little bit of the higher position over their opponents, and it's down low. Huge opportunity there from Jeff. He's going to miss that shot. Chaos in Time. Sharon, the low ground. And I like the wherewithal right now. Time and Chaos, they're switching the loot. They know their role within the team. They know their abilities, the strengths and the weaknesses. So I like really not having that ego, so to say, to kind of hold on to the thunder when you know your teammates just perform slightly better with it.
Yeah, and of course now if they go on to win the fight, right, that's definitely going to pay dividends. Oliver OG and Jeff, though, they'll try to make sure that does not happen. A trade that, again, is just not favorable for Jeff. I feel like we've seen that a couple times already today. Not the most favorable of trades. There is another team, though, looking to run in and get in on the action. And I feel like I say this with any sort of mid-map fight. There are going to be plenty of teams looking to get in here.
Another team's looking to really take advantage. That Lonely Labs, you can already see Shore and Zypha with 1 elimination. You got to imagine what type of trickery went down on this side of the map as they continue to rotate through. And honestly, there was a little bit of action that did go down. We got a replay coming through, and this was Shore. This was Zypha trying to get in. They're pressuring their opponents onto the box. And with timing being of the essence, they take advantage of Nick just out of position, separated from his teammate.
Yeah, they had the control, and they hit the shots. That's what it comes down to. So of course, the job is not finished over there, so I'm sure we'll see what goes down with them. Back into this one, though. Oliver, OG, and Jeff still waiting for the opportunity. Oh, the timing of the stair placement is so inconvenient for Oliver. He had the shot lined up and everything.
And while these two are just battling it out, you got Qua and Jock rotating slightly over from Faulty. They already took down Mega and Justice. Now they're trying to take down another 2 teams with a 4th one entering the mix. This is where it is going to get tricky as everybody probably down on Surge, trying to get what they can get as Quad just editing through, backing down, not getting too greedy. And that's probably a call from him and Jock, realizing the situation they're in, realizing how busy it's actually getting.
Yeah, this is a messy one. There's another team coming from the south who look to try to get involved as well. I feel like I'm in a realistic PvP FFA right now. There's some creative type stuff going on. Pump and Trashy. Far away, to say the least, from all of that chaos, all of that action.
Great game. Game number 1 for them. For a lot of these teams, you can have a great 1 game, even a great 2 games, but it's all about that consistency over time as Peterbot and Booga not getting the damage they want in their exact POI. You can already see what the effect is doing to them, forcing them to rotate around, forcing them to really think outside of the box of where they're going to get that surge. These are some of the most aggressive players in this lobby right now. So it's interesting to see that they're not just trying to hunt down players, but at the same time, it goes to show the level of players that are in this lobby.
Casca and Clarity, they'll be looking to try and make up for what went wrong last game. Of course, they tried to play for high ground, and they just didn't have the best of times, to say the least. I think that might be an understatement. Nevertheless, they were able to make it deep into that game. And they definitely have what it takes to make it deep into this one as well. Of course, here in this area, still looking to take some shots at teams, get their surge sorted. TK and Pledge in a similar predicament. You see, just playing around this building, making sure not to be overexposed, but peeking at the right moments.
Yeah, I like the patience right now coming out from Trashy. Pump trying to take that additional angle on the other side. Users might not see this one coming. Trashy with a huge shot, 128, tries to box him up, and that one's not going to come through. Users trying to use this moment, reunite with Polarize, try to stabilize himself in this situation. Shockwave Hammer coming out from Trashy, getting that piece control to go over to him. Users and his teammate are separated from now. Pump trying to take that additional angle. Users goes down. Pump takes down Polarize, and there goes 8 more points for Trashy and Pump.
What a shot there at the end from Trashy as well. That's the kind of thing you want to see from players in these games at this level. Big damage being dealt. So composed as well. No celebration or nothing, just staying locked in.
I like this duo of Chimp and Spade. One of the most consistent duos almost all of last season. A little bit of break. FNCS, the Invitational. Chimp playing with a little bit of a different guy. Reunited back here along with Spade. Interesting to see as soon as they start ramping up, playing to their full potential. I expect big things with them as they continue to kind of rotate through the southern portion of the zone. For them, it's going to be hard. It's going to be grueling for them to really make it past all of these players, especially if they are down on Surge, as other players just trying to put that pressure on, find what they can get as they continue to try to rotate through. And you can see them, Levin, right now, going forward, going backwards, gathering the information, so that way they can make their perfect rotation to them.
Yeah, this is a team that's able to, you know, loot up really quickly, get out their POI faster than a lot of players. But when it comes to actually getting into the good positions to deal with Surge once they've gotten their loot, a bit of struggles here today.
Another northwestern pull for a lot of these teams, so if you don't get there rather quickly, you're going to end up on a congested side. As Skizzy and Cyriz going up against Cam and Jiggly Flopper. On the other side, you see Cam trying to crouch, make his position unknown, so that way he can sneak. Jiggly Flopper's gonna be the one putting that pressure down, letting his position be known, trying to get them to peek at the wrong time as Cam finally firing off that shot, not finding what he wanted, but at least he's putting the pressure so that Jiggly does not get pushed in this situation, because all it takes is 1 second, 1 moment of separation. All it needs is Jiggly takes a huge amount of damage. The pressure is there. Cam trying to fight back from below, takes a huge shot, ends up into the wrong box as both these players' shields are going to be dropped. Jiggly is out. 2v1 is going to ensue, but the shots continue to fire in from all around. Cam's going to go down. Cyriz is down as well. Skizzy is trying to get this res right now with the pressure coming in from all sides of the lobby. They 388 above the damage threshold. If they can survive this, they'll be on a good foot.
Hey, look, I'm happy that Skizzy and Cyriz have been able to survive, and it looks like they'll be able to get the res off. But I really wish we would have got to see Cam just go crazy there 1v2. For a moment, I thought it was going to happen.
Only time will tell. You can see Tahi in death, SL, Muzz, and Degen in the background early on. So you got to imagine when it came to testing that POI, much different story than last. Both of these teams really choosing to disengage, probably getting a couple shots on each other, get some surge, something to work with, so that way they have a much easier end game as Yuz and Chris, they're out for revenge. You don't get Shockwave into the zone as the final team fighting for that victory royale and come back without a chip on your shoulder. That's Npen, that's Byla on the other end. Yuz just waiting for that perfect moment. Peek